Welcome back to Amerisogyny. I'm your host, Hannah Blue. You're listening to episode 88. Does accountability exist anymore? Well, hello, my listeners. I'm back. And as promised, I have more stories for you. Today, we're going to take a trip around the world. But before we get started, a warm shout out goes to another country that popped up on our analytics, Finland. Hello and welcome, friends. And thank you so much for tuning in. But before we do that, I think it's imperative to begin with what's happening right here in the United States. Let's get into it. As of November 1st, an estimate of 42 million Americans did not receive their SNAP benefits. Now, if you don't live in the U.S. and you don't know what that is, I'm going to tell you. SNAP is short for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It is also known as food stamps. As I said, nearly 42 million Americans depend on SNAP to feed their families. And just to let you know how dire this is, SNAP is also used to buy baby food and formula. So there are a lot of moms out there who don't have anything to feed their babies with. And who's responsible? Donald J. Trump. I hate talking about that man on my podcast, but this is so egregious. We have to sit down and talk about it. Because the President of the United States is supposed to look out for every American, not just the rich people. And this is a man who does not care if children and the elderly go hungry. He does not care if they die. And I'm not being dramatic. Medicaid is on the chopping block. He proposed a bill that Congress passed to gut Medicaid and take billions from Americans who are sick, who need life-saving medications every single day. Without Medicaid, which is healthcare, people will die. Young people, old people, children, and babies. And Trump knew that before he introduced his big, stupid bill. Republicans knew that people would die without Medicaid, but they passed it anyway. Why didn't people get their SNAP benefits? Because the government is shut down. Why is the government shut down for the third time since Trump has been in office? Yeah, this is his second term, but the third government shutdown on his watch. Pathetic. So why are we shut down this time? Republicans and Democrats could not agree to pass a bill that would fund government services past October 1st. In this country, Congress has to agree on a spending plan and send it to the president to be signed into law. As of now, Republicans control both chambers of Congress, but in the Senate, they need 60 votes to pass the spending bill, and they don't have them because the Democrats have been giving them some heat, as they should. Here's why. The Affordable Care Act, introduced by President Barack Obama, paved the way for millions of Americans, like myself, to have access to affordable health care. We have been getting tax credits that make the health insurance cheaper until now. Trump and conservatives want to get rid of the tax credits. Here's what Democrats want. They want an extension of the expiring tax credits that make healthcare cheaper for all of us. And they want Trump's cuts to Medicaid reversed. I applaud them. Without affordable health care in this country, we will die. Trump doesn't care about that. Conservatives don't care about that. But thank God the Democrats do. And that's why I vote Democrat. Democrats are also opposed to spending cuts to government health agencies. Conservatives are unmoving. They are unwilling to negotiate with Democrats about health care. They say they want to negotiate the health insurance subsidies separately, and they'll only pass what they call a clean resolution, meaning they don't care if people die. Well, As a result of them not reaching an agreement, here's what happened. Thousands of government employees were laid off and put on unpaid leave. That means there's no money coming in for bills, groceries, whatever they need. Even contractors who weren't directly employed by the government have been laid off too. The Smithsonian Museum and preschools funded by the federal government have been reduced or closed. Is this a nightmare? Yes, it is. But that's what happens when Donald J. Trump is running the country. Now let's get back to SNAP. The magic word of today's episode is accountability. I want you to get this straight. The Trump administration is legally required to deliver food aid to Americans. Out of those 42 million Americans, 1.4 million Americans right here in North Carolina did not receive their benefits. This is how ignorant he is. He tried to blame the Democrats for the shutdown, which is total BS. And he told reporters, when you're talking about SNAP, if you look, it's mostly Democrats. They're hurting their own people. That's a lie. New York Times fact-checked it and said there is no data on the political affiliations of SNAP recipients. And here's what's most important. Most of the people who receive SNAP benefits are in red states. That's right. The poorest communities in red states depend on SNAP benefits. And how many of them voted for him and are regretting it right now? U.S. District Judge John McConnell of Rhode Island ordered the Trump administration to fully fund the SNAP program and get food assistance to Americans. And here's what Trump did. He ran crying to the Supreme Court with an appeal. Now, at first, the judge ordered that the administration pay only partial benefits, and the Trump administration agreed. But when the judge ordered a second ruling telling his administration to pay full benefits for SNAP, he didn't like that. So what happened when he appealed? Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who, might I note, was appointed to the Supreme Court by President Biden, paused the judge's order that required the Trump administration to cover full food stamp benefits. That stopped the USDA, which is the U.S. Department of Agriculture, to transfer $4 billion to cover SNAP benefits. Jackson's administrative stay freezes any additional action by the administration to give an appeals court additional time to review the case. Jackson's responsibility is to handle emergency appeals from the First U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court has sided with Trump numerous times. One too many. Roe versus Wade, now the SNAP crisis, and now they're looking into a case that would appeal same-sex marriages. So I'll ask you, America, are we going forward as Kamala Harris wanted to, or are we going backwards? You tell me. Let's talk about North Carolina. In North Carolina, SNAP benefits represent about $230 million to $250 million each month. Governor Josh Stein said, I am urging the USDA to take immediate action to prevent more than 1.4 million North Carolinians, including hungry children, people with disabilities, veterans, and working families from going hungry. According to the Trump administration, they would have to spend more money than what is available in the contingency fund, and they want to move forward providing only partial payments. Justice Jackson's order pauses the requirement to give full SNAP payments until the appeals court rules on whether to issue a more lasting pause. Her order will remain in place until 48 hours after the appeals court rules. And this gives the administration time to return to the Supreme Court if the appeals court refuses to step in. The Democrats are not happy with this ruling. They had a lot to say about Jackson's ruling on X. Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries posted, the Trump administration is begging the Supreme Court to block an order requiring them to immediately release SNAP benefits. Meanwhile, Millions of hungry Americans are at risk of starving. These extremists are sick people. I agree. Minority Whip Catherine Clark represents Massachusetts, and she posted on X, "Let's be very clear. Trump is making a choice not to feed hungry Americans. Democrats will be fighting back." And Senator Adam Schiff, who represents California, posted on X, "The Trump administration will go to any length, including appeal to the highest court in the land, if it means they can cut off food for hungry people. What's wrong with them?" And that is a question Democrats have been asking ever since he got in office. What is wrong with conservatives? They'd rather let Americans starve than do the right thing. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey posted on X, "President Trump's cruelty knows no bounds." And Healey called on the president to stop playing politics with people's lives and pay full SNAP benefits for everyone. But New York's governor said it best. She posted on X, "He doesn't care if millions of Americans go hungry, and he doesn't. Trump has divided this country into red states versus blue, conservatives versus Democrats. But what his rabid mind doesn't understand is that we are all Americans. There's no such thing as a Republican America or a Democrat America. We are a democracy. And in this country, the poor should matter just as much as rich people." This is a mess, and people are in dire straits. You guys, I have not qualified for SNAP benefits in over a decade. I don't know, the last 15 years. But my heart goes out to people who do depend on the benefits to eat, to feed their children, their elderly parents. When you have a president who does not care if people live or die in the country, that is a president that needs to be removed. We have had nothing but chaos since his administration started. And with that, I'm going to move on. But I will bring you updates as soon as they're available. Now let's get ready for our next stop, South Korea. Now, I brought you this story a while back on the late great actor Lee Sun Kyun. A former police officer has been fired and now is facing 3 years in prison for leaking details for an investigation that Lee Sun Kyun was in. On November 3rd, the prosecution requested a 3-year prison term for former police officer. They're naming him Inspector A. He's in his 30s, and the hearing was held at the Incheon District Court. Inspector A was charged with leaking official secrets and other related offenses. Now, earlier in October 2023, Inspector A allegedly leaked investigation materials regarding Lee Sun Kyun's drug case to 2 journalists. Allegedly, he photographed and sent them reports on the progress of the investigation, and he was not allowed to do it. He probably got paid for it. Specific information that was leaked: names, criminal records, identities, and jobs. Now, after Lee Sun Kyun's tragic death in December 2023, the leak appeared publicly. Let's not forget directors, actors, friends, and family all came together to support the late actor, who committed suicide because he couldn't see his way out. In America, the bar for morality is set so low it's right at the door of hell. If someone gets investigated or arrested for drugs, we barely bat an eyelash. But in South Korea, it's a big deal. Lee Sun Kyun lost his sponsorships. He was pulled from acting projects. This incident literally ruined his life. And some people are saying, had he been permitted to come to the police station and answer questions in private, he might still be here. And I agree. This cop had no right to do what he did, and apparently he has no remorse because after he was fired, he filed a lawsuit against the Incheon police chief and lost. His hearing is scheduled for December 17th at Incheon District Court in the afternoon. Lee Sun Kyun was a beloved actor, and rightfully so. He was so talented. He didn't deserve to go out like that. Let me read some comments under the post. One said, they'll give him a slap on the wrist like they do all criminals there. Another said, the people that blackmailed him should get life. Another comment, not enough. And another, very good. I do hope Lee Sun Kyun's family gets justice. No one should have to lose a husband and a father that way. As for the rest of us, we are missing out on his incredible talent, and someone needs to be held accountable for his death. I have one more story for you out of South Korea, and if you are easily triggered by rape stories, now would be a good time to end the episode, and I'll see you next time. When I read this story, my heart went out to the survivor. Her tragic story deals with rape, physical injury, struggles with mental health, and she said she tried to end her own life due to what happened. Her name is Gwak Hyeol Soo. Please forgive me if I am not pronouncing that correctly. Sue is a very young woman. She's only 22, and she's a YouTuber. 220,000 people subscribe to her channel. She usually focuses on diet, but she took a moment to share a very brave testimony and update her subscribers on what she's been dealing with. She says, it was past midnight. The last train had stopped running, and I had drunk heavily, so I lost consciousness in the backseat of the taxi. The taxi driver parked in my apartment's parking lot, came to the backseat, and sexually assaulted me. I've spent 330 out of 365 days crying. As a daily life YouTuber, my work is sharing my life, but hiding this for a year and a half while continuing to YouTube almost drove me insane. I'm a victim of sexual assault. I don't know why I have to hide this. I didn't commit a crime. I'm not the perpetrator. So why should I have to stay hidden? She says the assault caused her to experience severe health issues. She says, after the assault, my body deteriorated. My uterus and vagina were seriously damaged. So for almost a year, I visited clinics from small local hospitals to major medical centers. I've taken so many antibiotics and medications that now I have my period twice a month, totaling 14 days. Normally, even with strict dieting, my hair never fell out. But after taking these medications, my hair started falling uncontrollably. She says although she's tried to do things that would improve her mental health, it's not working. She said, recently I've completely changed my channel direction to focus on healthy dieting because of this. I try to sleep more than 8 hours, cook my meals, and exercise. Yet, my condition keeps worsening. Yesterday, I experienced a severe panic attack. Seizures, panic, depression, and anxiety make it impossible to focus on work. I attempted suicide in August last year, but failed, which is why I'm still here. Last night, when I lay down to sleep, my heart hurt so much, and I felt like I was really going to die. It felt like being trapped in a 165-centimeter box, unable to breathe. Exercise relieves my depression and anxiety somewhat, but for panic attacks, I'll need medication, so I plan to see a psychiatrist tomorrow morning. She disclosed that she contacted the Sunflower Center. It's a support organization for survivors of sexual assault. She says the staff at the Sunflower Center swabbed evidence from every part of her body, and they also praised her for coming forward. According to the staff, it's very rare for victims to come this far after such an ordeal, and they think she is truly remarkable, and so do I. And they're right, a lot of victims do not get that far, but she pressed on, and now she's getting the help that she needs. She shared her frustration with the legal system. In her words, even after a year and a half, the lawsuit is far from over. Our legal system forces victims to suffer for years. Even when it seems almost finished, it never truly ends, and I feel like I'm slowly dying. She says the police were less than empathetic to her plight. They asked why she didn't report it at the time. She had a good response. Do you think anyone could report immediately if they had been through this themselves? According to her, YouTube is no better than the cops. She said, videos with terms like sexual assault or sexual crimes automatically get demonetized, even though my content focuses on mental health and supporting others. Why should victims always hide and suffer alone in this tiny room? I want to stop pretending to be okay and post videos showing myself crying to share my recovery process. And she should. That is her right. With regards to advocacy, she's definitely on the right track. She says, how many of my subscribers have experienced sexual crimes? I want to create videos that uplift and support survivors. If you are assaulted, report it immediately. Don't shower. Go to the Sunflower Center to collect evidence. Without evidence, no one will believe you. I will never back down. Even if it costs everything, I will fight harder and become stronger, thinking of past victims and those still suffering today. What a brave, brave girl. And I think this needs to happen more often. You know, we have evolved to the point where people are triggered by so many things, and that's not their fault. But I think sometimes it silences victims. We have to talk about sexual assault. We can't just hide it in a closet somewhere because people, women, men, non-binary people are suffering in silence. This young brave girl almost took her life, and I'm so glad it was spared because we need people like her to share their stories and motivate others to come forward. Her alleged rapist needs to be held accountable. He had no business placing his hands on her and hurting her. His job was to drive her home and nothing else. I agree with her. If you are a survivor of sexual assault, please come forward. Please report it. As a survivor of assault, I can tell you, you never forget it. The memory gets smaller and smaller, but it never goes away. The legal system sometimes around the globe is less than helpful. Very few are on the side of the survivor, and that's why it's important for people like Sue to use her platform to advocate. And that's why it's important for us here at Amerisogyny to advocate for the rights of women around the world. This is what it's all about, people. We advocate for women and people with disabilities. And that's why I shared this story, because someone out there is going through what Sue went through. And you need to know that you are supported. You need to know it wasn't your fault. And it doesn't matter where you went or how you dressed. No one has the right to violate your body. I encourage you to take Sue's story to heart. If you think there is no one in the world who cares about what you're going through, you're wrong. Many people do, including me. I thank you for listening, and I hope this episode helped. Well, my listeners, I'd love to stay here and give you more stories, but I'm out of time. If you learned anything in today's episode, share this episode and hit that follow button. By now, you know where. Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Samsung, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, and don't forget you can listen to us on my website, www.21bluelash.net. My Mayman duology, books 1 and 2, are set to release on January 1st and February 1st. You can get them at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, but my favorite place, my very own website, www.dlhannah.com. Our foreign listeners keep rolling in, and I'm so very thankful. I will be back with more stories. Until then, be easy, take care of yourselves and each other, and as always, God